Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I'm with the scholars from the edge of time, Nicholas Diak and Michele Brittany, and they are informing us and reminding us of a classic of Sword and Planet, Sword and Sorcery, Sword and Sandal that we have in our libraries somewhere. Greetings and welcome.
Hi, Hercules. It's good to see you. We just had a cat get into some trouble, so Michelle will be back in a minute. But it's good to see you. I think the last time we hung out, we talked about Deathstalker and got caught up, and now it's been another month, and always excited to see you every month.
And I'm excited to see both of you. In fact, we went on a quest through our basement crates and found all Deathstalkers, including Barbarian, which was the non-Deathstalker Deathstalker, but it had Lord Munkar and his moving tattoo and the the three powers and all the other stuff that were in the first Deathstalker movie. So I'm gonna start watching that, and you made me awaken to my nostalgia for sword and sorcery. So now we're looking for all the Claudia Unconquered comic books. Uh, this it'll be next if I finish with that stalker.
One of the things that's been on my to-do list is when Mystery Science Theater 3000 came back on Netflix a couple years ago, making new episodes and stuff. And one of the movies they riffed was Deathstalker 4. And I believe they've released a physical copy of it. So I need to hunt that down and watch it because I like MST3K and I like Sword and Sorcery, and they've done their fair share of Peplum films. So it needs to be watched.
Yes, it does. And Deathstalker 4 was the same Deathstalker as Deathstalker 1. So there'll be others that different Deathstalkers. This is a repeat Deathstalker.
So I guess we got some show and tell before we get started talking about tonight's movie.
Oh,
Um, so I guess the first thing I want to bring up is a little on the sad side, and that is the great Italian actor George Eastman passed away a couple days ago.
Mhm.
And I think we're pretty big George Eastman fans. He didn't do so much Peplum. He was more of a 70s onward actor. He did spaghetti westerns and pol pol police films, a lot of pasta apocalypses, and some sword and sorcery films from the 80s. He was in a lot of genres. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to bring him up for a minute, show some movies that we've watched, and we've actually talked about a lot of his movies uh, on Scholars from the Edge of Time in the past. But let's see, he was in Emmanuel Around the World. Yes, that's a safe for work picture, barely. He plays a guru in it, a love guru, and Laura Gimser's like, I'm gonna, expose you and your bad ways, sir. He was the main villain. I want to say adversary because it's one of those, good guy, bad guys, but they don't ever quite best each other. But he was in the
Mhm.
game, and we talked about that last year,
I think
and
so.
I believe we liked it. It's been a while. I mean, it's been a year, but he was in game. He's basically the main adversary in game. That was a good one. Been a long time since we watched The Barbarians, but he's one of the henchmen of Richard Lynch's character in The Barbarians.
Hmm.
Uh, Need to hunt him down on that one. He's the main villain in Iron Master, and we talked about this movie about 2 years ago. And Michelle wasn't part of that episode, unfortunately. I think something came up, so I flew solo on this one, but we both watched it.
Well, there was also the thing with the animals that really bothered me.
Was there any little stuff in this one?
Yeah, there was some
But
animal deaths and stuff.
this was a weird one because it's the George Eastman's the bad guy, but he has the hero's journey that normally the hero has. He's the
Yeah.
one exiled from the village. He's the one that gets the magic sword. He's the one that comes back to, right what's wrong, but he just so happens to be a bad guy. Um,
that's lion skin pelt, like it's a legend.
Yeah.
he's in Hands of Steel, which we haven't watched. We fast forwarded through it. I bring this movie up because this was filmed near us. This was filmed north in a weird town called Arcosante, which is like a science experiment in architecture. The end of the movie takes place there. Michelle and I visited it. Of course, I'm holding up my copy like, hey, look at me in front of it. But he's in this film. We have not watched it yet, but maybe we should very soon. Maybe next Scholars, a little George Eastman homage episode. But he's also in 2020 Texas Gladiators. And Michelle, at one of the academic conferences we've been to, she did a presentation on the Mario Bava film Rabid Dogs, and he's the main villain in that film. I guess what I'm trying to say is he was a very prolific Italian genre actor. He was in a lot of movies we've seen, a lot of movies we studied, and I guess, I think it was a couple weeks ago, the news was made like the last actor from the silent film era passed away, just kind of bringing that whole era to a close. But now, a couple days ago, George Eastman passes away, and I feel like that kind of closes an era of Italian genre films in a way.
Especially since he was so unique looking. I mean, and
The guy was like
easily,
almost 7 feet tall.
yeah, and easily recognizable. Like you knew that was George Eastman. And I think that that's part of, the nostalgia of, being able to recognize him.
To me, he embodies the 80s. He looks exactly like
does.
the mean business guy in Die Hard. Hans Booby, my black knight, my white knight. Whatever.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that up. Folks, go to my website, look at my archives of all the Scholars from the Edge of Time episodes, and look some of these movies up because we've talked about, like Endgame, Barbarians, and Iron Master and others. So shout out to the man himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was like my big thing I wanted to bring.
That's your big thing.
That was the big.
I only have like a couple of little things. What's that, Hercules?
Remembered.
What was that? I am so sorry, Hercules.
May he be remembered.
Oh, yes.
He gets a rest in peplum, that's for sure.
That sounds better. May he rest in peplum.
There we go. Yes. I've only got a couple of little things. So, since it was a 3-day weekend, one of the things that we did on Monday with a friend of ours, we went to Brass Armadillo, which is an antique mall. And there's a couple of locations here in Arizona. There's also locations, a few in kind of the mid part of the country and stuff. Anyway, I came across this book, which is about Tutankhamun. It was published in 2009. It's the signatures are the binding's starting to go on it. And since I do like to upcycle books, I'm actually going to try to retain the signatures within it, but just kind of do a repair and add, like additional journal pages and things like that. So it can be used as kind of a journal without losing the story, the story progression in this. It's basically just kind of it is a kid's book, but I really love the illustrations, which are have like gold metallic paper accents to it. And they're just really very, very well done. I'll just show a couple. But they are very pretty. And this is not a book I've come across before. And I felt like it was kind of a little bit higher end book as a result. It's published by Marshall McCavish. And again, it's from 2009. So when I do upcycle it and finish it off, I'll re-show it again. But this is one of the items that I picked up that's relevant to more generally our show.
It looks like something I would have gladly used in a role-playing game, set in different settings, as items that people come across or find, and then
It's cool looking.
Yeah.
And that would add a whole new dimension to the game.
Yeah. It really is pretty. I mean, I wish I, if I was a kid, and had seen this, because it's just really lovely.
Yes, it is.
But anyway, so that I have that. And do you want me to do my other thing and then you can finish off?
Yeah, I just got 2 website updates, so go for it.
So my other just kind of pitching my self-promoting is that I also do a podcast with my friend Travis. I think we've had him on the Scholar Show when we talked about Moon Knight, and my gosh, I think that was like 3 years ago now.
Time to have him on again.
Yeah, but he and I have a little podcast vidcast show called Ride the Stream, and we talk about different pop culture television shows, movies, things like that. And I kind of like let the cat out of the bag that we do have actually a 3-part episodes coming up that's going to talk about the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have been discussing Dark Winds, which is kind of based on Native American, the Navajo. And so a lot of the Navajo Dene language is used, as well as discussing some of the mythology comes out in the show. And so we've been enjoying that. We just wrapped up the finale discussion for season 1. So all those will be, I think the finale goes up tomorrow. So we'll have the first season in the bag, and people can, listen through. They're a little over an hour each. But definitely, for people that have enjoyed that show, definitely hop over to Ride the Stream. It's on YouTube. So
Please feel free to post the link from any of my pages.
I will try to remember to do that later. But that's kind of my news. Over to you.
Last bit I have is some, new content at my website. I'm still going through my journey of revisiting all my old Bud Root Cave Woman comic books. So I have a review of issue 1 of the Snow storyline. I'll be publishing issue 2 probably next week. But hey, for folks that like their jungle girls, she's out there battling dinosaurs and stuff. In skimpy attire, of course, Tarzan-y type things. It's at my website. And then finally, Severin Films, one of my favorite boutique Blu-ray people out there. They put out a box set of Antonio Margheriti's adventure films from the 80s. So all of his Indiana Jones knockoffs. And I didn't really do a review per se of this box set, but a little retrospective, because Margheriti is still like my favorite Italian film director. And his movie Ark of the Sun God, which is in this box set, is like legit one of my all-time favorite films. But 20 years ago, when I was, starting my whole journey of writing about Italian stuff, I didn't have anything like this. This didn't exist. And so I did a little, kind of down memory lane, going through like stuff I did have. I had
I'm just showing it.
I had old VHS tapes I had to scrounge up. And so, I just did a compare and contrast of, hey, here's the brand new Blu-ray, but this is what I had to use. I had to go to the University of Washington Tacoma Video AV Lab and rip this stuff to DVDs. No, not even DVDs, CDs, so I could watch it. So a little, kind of reminiscing of, times are like this now, but, times used to be like this. It's fun. It's a nice little, not serious article, but, it's stuff I hold dear.
And thank goodness for the boutique distributors that are putting out some of these films, so that way new generations can enjoy them and find them, because we are losing some of those older formats. So having some of this does keep it alive and well, and hopefully discussed amongst all of us.
Yeah.
Are still unedited? It's originally presented, because it's been my experience. I found some really old stuff that I grew up with watching in theaters on DVD, and even though they said the original and unedited, they were heavily edited.
As far as I know, these are definitely restored editions or whatnot. So one of these days I'll actually go and watch them. Whatever they are, they're definitely going to be better than the cropped full screen pan scan versions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, ready for tonight's movie?
Yeah.
All right, Hercules. Tonight we're talking about you, kind of. We are talking about the 83 classic Lou Ferrigno Hercules.
Awesome.
So, apologies in advance. We watched this last night. I have my notes. I didn't get time to like write a legit plot, so I mostly got bullet points. And so my usual flair may not come through. But here we go. 1983, Luigi Cosi directed Hercules with the Hulk.
And what other movies has he done that he's directed?
Oh, I was gonna show that one a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
I'll
Sorry.
show my favorite Luigi.
You got ahead of the script. Sorry. Let me stay back in my lane.
Oh, we'll talk about his other film, though. All right, Hercules, 83. The universe is created. Now, good and evil needs to be balanced. God creates Hercules and sends him into a baby's body in Thebes. But Minos and Sybil Danning overthrow the king, and they try to kill the baby, but it escapes into a river. It is found by farmers and raised like Superman. The parents die, the mom gets killed by a grasshopper robot, and Hercules sets out on his journey. He fights in a gladiator game, and he's tasked with escorting Cassiopeia after he cleans some horse stables. He does so by power washing it with a river. He falls in love with Cassiopeia, but a god stuns them both with a lightning bolt. Sybil Danning arrives and takes both of them. Cassiopeia is to be sacrificed in Atlantis to the Phoenix, and Hercules is to be thrown overboard into a ship from the ship. But Hercules survives, and he swims to shore and meets the sorceress Circe. The two travel to Hell to get Circe's charm back. Afterwards, they travel to Africa, where Hercules separates the continents and is awarded with the magic chariot. However, due to lack of magical horses, Hercules has the chariot tied to a rock, which he then tosses through space and time, and the duo hop on and travel to Atlantis. But Circe falls in love with Hercules, which causes her to lose her magic abilities. She is killed by a robot, and Hercules kills the robot in return. He enters Atlantis, but he's captured. However, no chains can hold Hercules. He breaks free, beats everyone up, and rushes to stop King Minos from dropping Cassiopeia into the Phoenix volcano. The two fight with magic swords, but Hercules wins and escapes the collapse in Atlantis with Cassiopeia, and the two smooch. The end.
Mhm.
So that's just a bullet list of what happened. There's a bit more, but Michele, overall impressions of Hercules 83. Wait, you have a big sigh.
I do.
Uh-oh.
I
Are we
didn't-
not on the same page for this one?
No, I didn't really care for it.
Oh.
I mean, I think that it is kind of dated. Like Clash of the Titans was, but there was still a charm. And it was unique in a lot of ways. And I just kind of feel like this one was pretty slow paced. Especially at the beginning where they're setting up the mythology, which I actually like, but I wish that they would have done a little bit more of like they show Zeus, Hera, and I forgot the other goddess. And I feel like, well, they were doing all this mythology, they really should have built a little bit more around Hercules. And I guess that was just their
It's true. It does
way.
take 20 minutes to get to Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, and I mean he's just briefly seen, and then they go back to baby Hercules on a river for another 20 minutes, and so I'm getting really long-winded, but yeah, I didn't really care for it, and I didn't tell Nick, but I actually like fell asleep a little bit at the end, so I saw most of the end, but not all of it.
You can leave this episode.
Okay. It was great to see you, Hercules, and everybody. I'm done. Mic drop.
I had I did suspect you falling. I just assumed it was a long day, but
It kind of was. Crafting is hard, man. I was off yesterday.
we sometimes after watching a movie we connect on it. Like, hey, We didn't do that last night. I should have suspected it at the time. Okay, for me,
Your 32,000 foot thought.
I admit the movie is campy
Mhm.
and it's a little disco-y in spots, but I dug it. I dug the Lou Ferrigno Hercules. It was fun. It is dated, but in a good way. This was laser Floyd. This was pew pew pew. It was just missing the disco ball, but it had the disco ball reflections everywhere. I liked it actually quite a bit. It did take 20 minutes for it to get going. I kept telling Michele, when is Lou Ferrigno going to start knocking some skulls?
That's what he really wanted action. And you do kind of anticipate action, when you're watching a Hercules film. And it was pretty slow starting. And I think that's part of what made me kind of sleepy. I mean, I got through most of it.
So to counter this real quick, I'm just going to jump into straight sworded sandal elements here.
You should.
Because this is going to counter the again, slow start. But once Lou Ferrigno's on screen, the movie doesn't really stop. In fact, it's so fast paced that they have to like get rid of story to make room for other story. A lot of stuff like happens off screen, like hey, let's take Hercules and throw him overboard. They don't ever show him like on a ship or about. It's just next scene he's underwater. So it's that kind of let's just get through it. And part of it's probably due to budget, but anyway, when I talk about strong characters, Hercules and Ursus and Goliath and all the folks, they're very much defined by their feats of strength.
Yes.
And I feel this movie with this Hercules is like we need to cram as much feats of strength into this movie as possible. And I happen to make a list because this movie has
This
is the list. This movie has Hercules doing everything. So here we go. In no particular order. The strongman character of Hercules by Lou Ferrigno does the following. And I am missing stuff. Uproots a tree. Pulls horses, ropes, and etc. from chariots. He has shins of steel. He rips a rock from a wall, and then he tosses said rock across space and time. He yeets a bear in a space. He yeets a log in a space. He wrestles 10 wrestlers at the same time using a log to pin them all. He breaks numerous chains. He smashes a door with a winch. He tosses boulders to dam a river. He swims for 7 days and 7 nights. He defeats a robot with an anchor. He body slams a door. And he pushes Africa and Europe continents apart, asterisk, with a little assistance. And there's others, I left out, a couple other things like him just normal fighting or, sword play, kind of typical stuff. If you're trying to, this is an 80s Hercules. It's been 20 years since you last had a Hercules. You're bringing this Hercules into the age of Italian disco. You need to go all out. And I feel like they went all out. They went above and beyond trying to show this Hercules as truly invincible, as truly muscle bound, as truly the epitome of a mythological strongman character. And he is probably one of the most active feat featuring Hercules I've seen on screen. You could take an old, Alan Steele movie or whatever, and yeah, there's sequences of him being strong, but this movie's just non-stop. There, bam, 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 uproot tree, take this guy, break the chains. He even stops to eat some food to get his calorie intake in, so he can keep those gains. Mm-hmm. So I like that. This is a new Hercules for a new era, because after this, you go to Kevin Sorbo Hercules. And then after that, 20 years later, you go to Rock Hercules. So it's just, to me, a standout Hercules that's different, but also like just concentrated Herculesness.
Yeah,
Mark Addy Hercules.
What's that?
Don't forget the Mark Addy Hercules in the map.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Mark Addy, huh?
Yeah, Mark
Interesting.
Addy, King Baratheon in Game of Thrones. He played Hercules in a BBC series called Atlantis.
Oh, okay. I was not aware. I know who Mark Addy is, and so I'm kind of like, that's an interesting body type. But I will agree that Lou Ferrigno as Hercules does definitely has a body. His body is out on display
Oh yeah, this,
at all times. Very muscular, to the point of
there's
I'm
some man boob flexing going on in some
yes,
scenes.
but then you can also see like all the veins. Like he really looks like he is really putting everything into what he's doing. And I was even trying to think back to Arnold Schwarzenegger if he did as much of that kind of bodybuilding, flexing,
I thought the two were friends.
vein popping. Now I'm just talking
Yeah.
in the movies wise. If Conan had that kind of display of, do you remember?
Conan, especially the first one, they wanted him to look rough and muscular, like an ancient, superior muscular warrior would look in ancient times. In the second Conan the Destroyer, they had him look more like a bodybuilder, like the comic strips. But
Okay.
Lou Ferrigno, he looked like an ultra bodybuilder. And
Yeah.
Ed Lou Ferrigno, and I interviewed him on a TV show. He was very concerned with his status as a hero to young boys. So anything that was overtly sexual or revealing in the movie, he nixed it. And
See, I think stuff come through because aside from Lou Ferrigno being on display, this movie actually has way more women characters than we normally see in a Peplum film.
I would agree with that.
Usually Peplum
Yeah.
films have, on average, two. You have a good lady and a bad lady. You have the vamp and then the belly dancer. You have the person that needs to be saved, and then the lady that's a temptress or whatever. This movie had, a mom, a princess, a whole bunch of love interests, a whole bunch of evil ladies, a whole bunch of goddesses, and this is a very female forward sword and sandal film, and the more active ladies that Hercules is interacting with, they do have some, especially with Sybil Danning. Side note, folks, if you go through Hercules' archives, he had Sybil Danning on his show a long time ago.
yes,
She,
impressed me. She was a brilliant woman, very brilliant. Impressed the hell out of me.
yeah, Sybil Danning, we had the honor to meet her in SoCal, like at the first Comic Kazi convention. She was a guest at, and she signed some Annie Sidaris films of mine. But she has a bosom lifting outfit. All the ladies are, they're very clothed, but it's like that kind of super heroine clothed where it's still very skin tight, where hey, you could see Cersei's belly button through the fabric. Michelle's like, you can also see other things, Nick.
So a few of the outfits were kind of very suggestive, and I was just kind of like, I know what they were doing,
Yeah.
but it was kind of like definitely the Hercules outfit was, the leather loincloth type thing, and it covered, it was, longer than like some of the stuff that like Ellen still wore. But yes, I would agree. There was a lot more ladies, and much more active. Even the mom was kind of active. So
Yeah, it's just it's different how. Yeah, again, I'm going to attribute this. This is a new age, a new decade, a
mhm.
new Hercules. Let's put some more ladies in it, and I did. The women have a lot of the more prominent parts. A lot of the dude characters enter but exit the movie pretty quickly. The only like man character that kind of sticks around really is King Minos,
Yeah.
which Hercules doesn't even encounter until the very end. Sybil Danning's the one that's kind of doing everything, and Cassiopeia, even though she's a damsel in distress, she still does things, and Cersei, she's doing her stuff, and her character is interesting because you can't tell if she's a good guy or a bad guy. She's ultimately a good guy, but the way she's played, to begin with, she just wants her charm back.
Intentions,
Yeah.
you kind of wonder where does she really fall? It's pretty vague.
She's not a two-dimensional character,
No.
she's
I feel like all the female characters, I mean, for the most part, I would say that there's a little bit more effort to
flesh them out.
create and flesh them out so that, I mean, every time you saw them on the screen, you knew, okay, I know who that is. Where I would say most of the men that came and went is like, who is that? And they were only there for a very short time.
Like Cassiopeia's dad, who's tasking Hercules to guide Cassiopeia, he exits the movie. You never see him again. The little underling guy that's working for Sybil Danning, he gets away scot-free. He just disappears from the movie too.
Dorcon is his name.
Dorcas, more like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where, and I'm sure we'll get into this. I think where, like Clash of the Titans, where they had several women in different roles in that movie. I feel like they took, that kind of actor or character structure, and utilized it into their own movie. I would say that that's kind of comparable because we had women in that other movie as well, more than usual.
This movie is indebted to two other movies. It's very much indebted to Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve's Superman from '78, and very much indebted, I believe, to Clash of the Titans '81. The first 20 minutes of the film, with its shots of laser disco space, and then Hercules is found by the farmers. It is basically Superman's origin story all the way through.
And I would say Moses, because the baby in the little boat on the river going down all by himself. I was definitely, I told him, I said, oh, this is, Moses.
See, I went other route of Romulus and Remus.
That's true.
And then we talked, here's another episode that y'all can listen to when we talked about Ursus in the Valley of Lions. That will tackle him. Same thing, Ursus is part of a kingdom as a baby. He gets usurped and he's tossed into the river and then raised by lions. I mean, cut out the raised by lions part, and that's this story and Moses and all stuff. So, I mean, it's not anything new, but the way it looks very much like Superman. And then Clash of the Titans. This movie, instead of like borrowing from traditional Hercules stuff like his labors and stuff, it borrows, I think, heavily from Clash of Titans. He's given, like the gods are squabbling over him, just like they squabble over Perseus in Clash of the Titans. They keep intervening on things. They give him the sword and the mirror shield.
Yep, that comes up in the movie.
Clash of Titans, he rides the river Styx with Charon. He does that in this. The circumstances are all different, but it's basically, let's take Perseus's story and turn it into Hercules' story, which I'm okay with. To me, this is all malleable and things can crisscross all that stuff.
Yeah.
I would say with Bubo, the Clockwork Owl, we see the equivalent of that in this film with Daedalus's robotic, three-headed dragon and grasshopper. It looked like a grasshopper.
Yeah, and there was a third one. What was the third one?
It's killed by an anchor, and I don't remember what it was, but it was weird looking. Oh, Hercules.
You're muted.
Oh, it was a centaur, I believe.
Oh, centaur.
Oh, that's it.
He whacks that thing in the head of an anchor and it goes down. Those that's kind of what one of the themes of this film is supposed to be, is like science versus man versus science. Because King Minos is keep going back to science will solve everything. And of course, man versus science, Hercules is representing man.
Yes.
But he easily squashes science. But here's one of the weird things. At the very end of the film, I just went through my giant list of all the feats that Hercules does to show off his strength.
And I was awake for that very end.
But at the end, King Minos says to Hercules, you will need more than your strength to beat me. And what happens is Hercules goes and pulls a sword out and they have a sword fight, and that's how Hercules wins. And it's kind of the opposite, because usually at the end of a strongman film, the Hercules strongman character usually wins unarmed. It's or maybe he might have a cudgel or something, but he has a He-Man sword, basically. He has a magic sword.
Yeah, it's a very
And
specific sword. It's not just like one he's just grabbed off the ground.
so it's very much at the very, very end, the weird message of Hercules, despite all of his using his strength to brute force his way through the film, at the very end, he had to rely on, I'm going to say science, even though the sword I think is supposed to be magic sword, but it's plugged into the volcano. It stops feet, whatever mumbo jumbo. He needed to rely on an external thing to beat King Minos, and
Yeah.
that's a lot different than we normally see in these types of films. And I don't know if that's good or bad. It's just a thing, and this is a similar story like we've seen in the Bella Cortez's Giant Marathon, not Giant Marathon, Giant Metropolis, where they're also Atlantis, science, and of course, who loses in the end, science. Um, just interesting how it's one of this movie does a lot of zigzagging, and this is one of those instances that Lou Ferrigno, in order for him to win, had to use something to extend his own strength. He had to use a magic sword.
Yes.
I did want to,
Which is unusual.
Which
that is a departure from other Hercules films. The other thing I thought of watching this, I thought of the Mark Forrest version of Hercules, and some of the story that they use in there, what they use in here, and it's more of the different shows of strength than anything else. But and he's got a smaller body, but anyway.
I did want to point out one weird scene. And again, it's one of those, I don't know if this is good or bad, but it's a thing. But early in the movie, Hercules is now starting his quest, and he doesn't know what he's going to do. So he heads into town where he's going to enter the games and win them to become like the king's, number one right-hand man, which will, basically.
And he's trying to find a quest.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to find his place.
Mhm.
And this is where I feel like the movie could have been a little better and incorporate the fact that Hercules is a demigod, right? Isn't he kind of a demigod?
Because, he's birthed from a god
Yeah.
and put into a baby in this one. He's a demigod.
So I kind of wish that he would have been a little more self-aware about that aspect. I think that would have helped him.
Well, that's the driving force of his quest. After his parents die, he's like, I need to find out why am I so strong and why everyone wants to get to me. And okay, real quick, I want to make my prior point because they overlap at the same time. When he arrives in the city, there's the gladiator battle.
Yes.
But usually these gladiator battles, you have them in an arena, there's a crowd, there's all this noise and stuff. But the scene it's in a cave and there's no one in it. It is quiet. It's dark. And all you can hear is Hercules going ding, ding, a sword fight. It is like the complete opposite of what you usually see in a sequence like this, where you have the arena, you have the crowd, there's a lot of noise, it's a lot of energy. And just to see it kind of flipped and have it just be like this private, quiet affair, kind of hidden away in some subterranean caves, is weird. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is a different thing.
Yeah, it's like they undercut the idea of the show of strength, the male gaze, well, female gaze, I guess.
Oh, no, male gaze as well.
Male gaze as well. It kind of undercuts all that, and I honestly think it was more of a budget thing.
Oh no, it totally was a budget thing.
But it is kind of weird that they chose a cavern.
Yeah.
For this, that they didn't at least do it outside.
There's, yeah.
We can chat that one up for
it is different than what you would typically see in that type of film. But like what you're saying, at that point, Hercules' quest is basically, who am I and why are people trying to get me? And thing is aside from that, he doesn't really pursue that quest. Everything else kind of accidentally happens to him. After that, he gets hit by a lightning bolt, he's put on the boat, thrown overboard, and his real driving force at this point is, I need to save Cassiopeia. So
Yes,
like his original quest
Mhm.
of who am I becomes incidental, and instead of a more proactive Hercules, he becomes more of a reactive Hercules of the gods are sending things at him. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, that's how a very episodic hero's journey might be.
Mhm.
But it does, and again, it's neither good nor bad. It's different. It's just this is a Hercules that maybe doesn't have as much agency as we see of other Herculeses. He's more of like literally like as a baby going with the flow of the river. He's going with the flow of this adventure to get this lady back. And whatever obstacles just happens to pop up in his journey, he'll brute force his way through it. And again, it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just it's different. And it is weird how he at the end of the movie he's nowhere closer to what his original quest was of who am I?
Mhm. Yeah, and I do kind of feel that that does take a back seat to the love story,
Mm-hmm.
or the effort to get Cassiopeia back because he's fallen in love with her. Um,
Now, there is a sequel to this we haven't seen, so maybe that
does it have Lou Ferrigno in
it
it
is.
again?
It is.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it might wrap up in there, but this is not what's that?
Doesn't.
Spoiler alert, it does it. But it's like, take that and change it to like Perseus' story, where he's guided by kind of the same story of, who am I? I'm on this quest stuff.
Yeah.
But the gods are still interfering, he's getting gifts and stuff, but it feels like he's pushing the narrative forward.
Mm-hmm.
And he has clear goals of what he still wants Cassiopeia, he still wants to rescue her, but like his original quest doesn't sideline, I think. Again, it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just this is a movie that has a lot of loose ends.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say definitely that. I think that's where partly why I didn't really care for it is, and I think you spoke very articulately in really teasing out the fact that he just doesn't have a lot of agency. And when you've got a hero that's just kind of reacting to everything that's coming down the pike, it's not as interesting. Hence why I fell asleep. But yeah, I would say that Lou Ferrigno I thought did a great job as being Hercules. And it was nice to see a young Lou Ferrigno because I knew him from The Incredible Hulk and always see him green, right? So it's nice to not see him green. And we actually did meet him.
We met him at an autograph show. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got an autograph for one of our friends. It was Art Deco lady's friend, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Stephanie's friend. Yeah, but no, I yeah, I think he did a nice job and was a right in line with other things, body image that we were seeing, and it fits well with that larger narrative that we see these different films doing.
Well, so at the time this is going on, this is
Mm-hmm.
the big sword and sorcery boom, post
Yeah.
Conan. But it's nice that at the same time there was a minor sword and sandal boom going on at the same time because this Hercules was followed by another Hercules, and then they got Lou Ferrigno back to do a Sinbad film, and then they got Lou Ferrigno to do a Peplum Seven Samurai film called Seven Magnificent Gladiators, which is supposed to get a brand new HD release like soon, and I haven't seen that one. There's been some other Peplum Seven Samurai films out there, but this is so Lou Ferrigno is in all these sword and sandal Italian cinema at the same time as the Conan, Deathstalker, and other stuff was going on. So it's kind of important for that. I know we're getting to the top. I do want to do one thing real quick that's not related to Hercules, but the director of this film, Luigi Cozzi, he did a movie called Contamination. And that is, I love contamination. So when I knew Luigi Cosi was behind this, I was probably going to like Hercules. But here's my autographed copy of Contamination by Luigi Cosi. I sent this to Italy way back in the 2000s from the autograph. This movie's an alien knockoff. Its shtick is it has avocado-looking alien eggs that explode, and when they explode and they get their goo on you, you explode.
I
And what's that?
saw that years ago. Now that you're describing it, I remember that.
It's great. It's a fantastic film. I love it. It's great. I know it's pretty campy and whatnot. Does it have a lot in common with Hercules? No, except Luigi Cosi does like his sci-fi because he did Star Crash, that was a Star Wars knockoff, which had Carolyn Monroe, who's in the sequel to Hercules. So there you go. So I think he
And
brings.
we've met her.
We met her a couple times. She's a
Yeah.
doll.
Awesome.
But so yeah, we're at top of the hour. So I'm sorry you didn't like Hercules as much. I dug it, and maybe you'll dig the sequel more.
The sequel was a D&D game, basically. Somebody stole Zeus's thunderbolts and hid them in people and monsters. And Hercules has to retrieve the thunderbolts and return them to Zeus. And there's a sadness in doing the last couple.
But it's got Carolyn Monroe, so we're sold. I'm sold.
I know you're sold. But yeah.
Passing the torch back to you, Hercules.
And just one thing I'd like to add. Some of the weirder things in the movie, like pushing Africa and Europe apart, that's actually in the Hercules mythology. He did that.
Uh-huh.
And with Cassiopeia, there's her parallels to Andromeda, and that Perseus is Hercules' grandfather or great grandfather, and the Cassiopeia and Andromeda tales were meant to be related. So there's a lot of stuff that seems strange on its own. Like in Hercules' Legendary Journeys, they had him do a Jack and the Beanstalk type of thing.
Mhm.
That's actually in the folklore scholarship. And they had him wrestling with the Archangel Michael, with all sorts of Judeo-Christian stuff. That too, Michael is the equivalent to Hercules in a lot of occultism. So some of the weirder things in these movies actually corresponds to something obscure in scholarly literature.
There's
That
one
makes sense.
weird thing that this movie started to cash on but didn't do it. But when Hercules tosses the bear into space and it becomes a
Oh,
constellation,
yes. Mhm.
and one of the goddesses is like, how many more constellations are going to be made like this? And I thought that was awesome. And so a couple scenes later, when Hercules takes a log and throws it into space, and I'm like, oh, please let that turn into a log constellation. I will lose it. It didn't. But if it did, I would have been the happiest clam. They didn't play up on that anymore. Hercules should have thrown more people into space in this movie, making more constellations. But I like that scene, and it should have had a constellation of a log.
Alice Bailey, the occultist, the neo-theosophical occultist, wrote a book on the labors of Hercules and equated them with the constellations.
Mm-hmm.
Each retail some of the creatures were put in there, not in modern zodiac formation, but the crab, for instance, that bit Hercules' feet during his wrestling with the Hydra. The Hydra wound up as a constellation, and the man lion, and so on and so forth. So that too was part of the legend. They didn't really dwell on it, but they had Hercules make it to the constellations, and in ancient Greek lore, that was heaven where the stars were. And
Mhm.
Hercules made it to heaven, and you could see him because it's a constellation in the sky, or a planet wandered around. The gods were planets because they didn't do the regular set thing. And anyway, I could talk about this for hours, and I'm not going to. But that was awesome. And how can people find the scholars from the Edge of Time during their scholarly adventures and their individual adventures as well?
I know where you won't find Michele, sitting in front of the TV watching Hercules again.
Sorry.
I'll go first. I'm at nickdiak.com. That's my website. I update it constantly with articles, news, stuff that Michele does as well. So if she's got new podcast stuff or crafting stuff, I post it there as well. All of our podcasts and vidcast episodes are cataloged there. So that is your big gateway to check out what Michele and I are up to. And that's at nickdiak.com.
Yep, and if you're at all interested in checking out Ride the Stream, it is a YouTube channel. And then if you want to check out my side gig, which is doing art and paper crafting and upcycling stuff, then check out my YouTube channel. It's just Michele Brittany, one word. So
And there are also ruins of ancient sites like Michelle's Musing on Mummies that
that's
are,
right.
that are worth looking for, adventuring to find, and then reading once you found them. I used to enjoy that side a lot.
Yeah, you need to resurrect it like a mummy.
Maybe.
And, you know,
maybe.
an article every now and then.
I know. I have not been had the muse reach into my heart and say, you must write. That's been all on Nick. So
We can
What if
do
I bit you like a vampire? Would you want to write then? Oh, sorry, we're on TV.
we can do a quest where we look for Tanya leaves and then do a show on Zoom.
there we go.
Here we go. And resurrect the site one day.
Yes.
And we could have Michael Waterman, who's an Egyptian high priest, doing high priest type of ritual, and we could make a whole production out of it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much for being here and sharing your wisdom and your esoteric knowledge. I enjoyed this conversation like all conversations I have with you, and I look forward to our next one. I wish you success in all your ventures and adventures. Until next time we meet. Be well, my friends.
We'll see you in
Thank you.
June.
You
Always good
too.
to see you, sir.
Yeah. Now let me see if with my glasses I can look at. I found it. Yes, I found it. Take good care.